Now, if you're at newcitylibrary.org, under e-library, this first link, ebooks, e-audiobooks, and streaming media, this has links to the core digital services and Hoopla and Kanopy. Now, I guess first of all, I should just introduce myself. I'm Brian Jennings, Head of Adult Services at New City Library. I've worked here, I don't know, about 5 or 6 years. Before that, I was at Nyack Library for many years. And we've introduced all these services since my time at New City. Now, Kanopy and Hoopla are the two services that we offer and for streaming movies. And if I had to recommend one, I'd probably recommend Kanopy. Kanopy has 30,000 plus films. It's marketed as thoughtful films. It includes the Great Courses, the Criterion Collection, some of the Criterion Collection, and many documentary films. Hoopla has about 12,000 plus films, and many of these are more mainstream films, although it does have some documentaries. Looking yesterday, I saw that it has many PBS documentaries, including the Ken Burns, Rick Burns. So it has some very good things as well. So that's a little bit of difference on the content. Sometimes people will look at Kanopy and say, I don't recognize any of these films. So I'll talk a little bit about that and show you how to get some more recognizable films. Also, I just want to point out another similarity between these two services is they limit the number of items you can borrow per month. So both of them are set to 10. Prior to this pandemic, Kanopy was set at 5 and Hoopla was set at 6. So since that time, we've gone to 10. Just going to check back and see if there's any. Yes, no questions. Okay. So the first one we're going to look at is Kanopy. So from here, what you want to do is add your library card and then create an account. And it's really 4 steps to creating an account. You're finding the library. You're adding your library barcode and PIN number. Again, if you have questions about that, I have my email and phone number there. You can contact me and I can get you, if you lost your card or you can't remember what the number, your PIN number is, we can do that afterwards. And then you create an email, username, and password. And that is what you use to log in to Kanopy. So I'm going to just log in. And you'll see here it says 9 up here. So I've watched 1 movie this month. So I still have 9 left because you get 10 per month. Another aspect to both of these services is they have features for kids. So I have 3 children. If I want to, I can go to Kanopy Kids, and this is all content just for children. Really nice things. This is a kind of a children's book that we own, but you can watch kind of a movie version of it. Another thing that Kanopy has, which Hoopla does not, is their parental controls. So if you have kids, you can turn on parental controls with the PIN number here. So I could do that, so if someone is trying to watch a movie that they shouldn't be watching, I can control that if I want to. Again, I mentioned some people will indicate I don't see any movies that I recognize necessarily here. And it's, as you browse down through these different collections, one of the options, I just want to point this out, there's credit-free viewing. So because you have to use 1 credit every time you watch something, there is a collection, a small collection of movies that you can watch where you don't have to give up a credit. So that's something to also look for. But I wanted to show you this collection of Oscar winners and nominees because I think it's more likely when you get in here, you'll be looking at films that are more recognizable, perhaps. Still not necessarily your big mainstream films, but a few that you may recognize. Other things, let me just check in chat, see if there's any questions. Don't see any questions here. What is Criterion? Okay, that's a good one. Criterion is a set of movies, kind of classic films. So if I search for that here, so you see the Seven Samurai, films by Goddard, Fellini, Chaplin, kind of classic films. This is not the entire Criterion collection, but it's a collection of 50 films from that collection. Another, there are also films from Paramount. So if you want films that you may have heard of, Paramount is probably the biggest studio that Kanopy has, and there are 66 films from Paramount. So I think you'll see some more recognizable things here. Let's see. Also, it has the Great Courses collection. So this is kind of, if you want to take a course on a topic. We used to have these in DVD or in CD. You can take that course through here. Now, once you so these are all of the great courses. Once you hit watch, you immediately invoke the credit. And after you do that, you have 2 days, I believe, to finish. Let's see if I hit this. And then play. Then I have that in my list here. So my dashboard would include Now, actually, this is interesting. The feature films give you 2 days, but the great courses give you 4 weeks because there's more content in there. So that's important to point out. So you get a little bit more for your buck there. What else did I want to point out about Kanopy? See if there's any more questions. Any way to search for a certain film? Yes, of course. At the top here, so if I'm looking for a specific film, Hard 8, I know it's in there, so that's why I searched for it. Then it comes up. But because I put the parental controls on, I would have to enter that. It didn't ask me for the PIN, though. That's surprising. I don't know if that was because I was in the same session as well. So yes, you can search for films. One thing to point out, though, about both of these services is that New City Library ourselves, we do not select the content for either of these. So these services negotiate with different studios and get the content. So we don't control which films are on there. It's whatever is provided. So if you say, well, can you get this film? We can't buy content for these. We can recommend, but we can't buy. Can you search by actor? Yes, you could. So, let's see. Renee Zellweger, so here we go. The other thing is if you see a film, so let's say back at this film, these are all links. So if I click on John C. Reilly, I get all of the films that include him. So there's hyperlinks in the descriptions here to the films. So if I click on a filmmaker or I click on the subject, it automatically institutes that search. In some cases, they don't have anything else, but in other cases, they do. So Kanopy. I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to cover on Kanopy, unless you guys have additional questions. I believe there is also a collection here. Popular movies. So you might also check out that if you're not sure what to watch. I also want to point out that both of these services, I'm doing this on a computer, on a laptop, but both of these services also have apps. So you can download the app for a iPhone, iPad, Android tablet, Android phone. If you have a Roku, an Apple TV, and at the bottom here of the page, if you scroll all the way to the bottom, it has all of the different things you can do. Chromecast, Android TV, Fire TV, Fire Tablet, and then under support, if you have trouble with some of your mobile apps or TV apps and how to do that, there's information about how to do it. If you've download it, and if you have a Roku or one of these things and you've downloaded an app before, it works very similarly, so that you have to enter a code from your mobile device or your computer that matches what's on the TV to confirm your account. So two questions here. One about just watching. So if you see a film you want, you can simply click it, and now you are watching the film. I think that's what Carrie was asking.
Mom and Me versus You and Dad.
I watched that a couple of years ago. It's actually a pretty good film. Multiple devices. So I have the Kanopy app on my phone, but I also have the application on my Roku at home. And I simply log in with the email, username, and password in all of those places. So I log in with this information on all of those devices. So there's one account, and it connects to all of the different things. But I wanted to move along now and talk about our other streaming service, which is Hoopla. Maybe just go back to the library homepage, and we'll start from scratch. E-library, e-audiobooks, and streaming media. I do have these bookmarked, but which you probably want to do. But there are links under this part of the website. And it's just hoopladigital.com. Now, one thing that is different about Hoopla compared to Kanopy is that Hoopla is not just movies. Hoopla is, if we look here, audiobooks. It's very good for audiobooks, especially nonfiction, but fiction as well. It does have movies. It does have some television shows, but it has ebooks, comics, and music. Now, you still only get 10 items a month, but it has all of those. So I'm not going to talk about that today, at least in great depth, but I should point out that this does have a tremendous amount of content, much more than just movies. The sign-up, I didn't talk about sign-up, but sign-up for Hoopla is very similar. Let me just log out here. If you were to come to this site and you didn't have an account, you would hit Get Started today, type in your email twice, do a password, hit Agree, and then you would be directed to add your library and your PIN number and library card number. But since I do have the account, I will enter it here. So if you want, again, just like the other services, you can search up here. If you just wanted to search for movies, you could search for, I just saw they had this movie here. Yesterday, you could search for a movie title. You could also search for an actor or actress, and you would also get results as well. And again, just like the other service, all of these are hyperlinks. So if you say, oh, well, I love Angelica Houston, if you click on it, then you will get everything with her. One thing, though, oh, this is a great movie, The Grifters, is that you're also going to get these audiobooks and ebooks. So in this case, she has a memoir, and these are audiobooks. So, and I guess maybe she was the narrator, or I'm not sure if that's a feature film or not. It looks interesting. So in any case, you can click around in the in here and get access to many more titles that way. If you just want to browse movies, you can go to Browse Movies, and it's sorted, I believe, by popularity. I'm just going to, it's a default. So the default is the most popular content. This is not the actual Hamilton, but it's a documentary about Hamilton. But obviously Hamilton is in the news. Another thing is there is also a kids section. So just like there's a kids section for Kanopy, there's a kids section for Hoopla. So if you click into the kids section, now I'm in kids mode. So I don't see the Hamilton, I don't see the Life Aquatic. I am only looking at kids films. And then if you want to get out of kids mode, I uncheck that, and now I'm back into everything. Let's see. If you looked at the selection at Hoopla and said, well, I don't recognize anything, or reverse that. If you looked at Kanopy and said, I don't recognize anything, I think Hoopla has much more mainstream content you'll see from looking at this. And I hadn't looked at the films in quite some time, so in preparation for this, looking at the films, I was kind of impressed at the depth of their content. They have been adding things here. But again, you only get 10 borrows per month. So if I go to my Hoopla, see I have 8 more borrows this month. And these items I have checked out. My children like these read-along books, but we're not going to talk about that today. And if I get too tired, I don't have to read them the book. I can have the book read it to them. Let's see if we have questions. Go ahead and post away in your questions if you have them. Let's see. What else do I want to cover about Hoopla? I have my list here. Again, there are 10 borrows per month. You get 3 days per movie. It also includes television shows. So if I hit Browse Television, I'm just looking at the television shows. Looks like it's sorted by popularity. I don't know about the selection on the television. Doesn't look to me like it's more mainstream stuff, but I guess there is some things. Again, I had mentioned the documentaries. It does have the whole Ken Burns series, it looks like here. So that's a pretty nice content there. And I think it has Rick Burns as well. I guess they classify that as television, but I would have to say some of the Rick Burns. That to me seems like more of a film. You can also look by categories here, and the same thing in the movies. I didn't show you that, but say you just wanted PBS or National Geographic or History Channel, you could look at that. One thing that was a little off-putting as far as the television for me is it looked as if each time you watch an episode, it's one borrow. So that's a lot. I don't know that I would want, if I was using this a lot, I would want to use a borrow on that. If we're browsing the movies, I just wanted to show you the categories here. You know, if you just wanted musicals, I haven't looked at this, but you could just get the musicals. As they have Fiddler on the Roof. Interesting. Again, it's a pretty deep collection, 12,000 plus films. Biographies. And you have other sorts here. So if you wanted the release things more recently, you could change the release date if you wanted. Now, this is not necessarily going to have the most recent stuff, but I would say that it is a deep collection. Let's just check and see if we have any other questions coming through. How did you get to categories? Good question. Do Hoopla ebooks and Libby ebooks have similar content? Okay, so two questions. One about the ebooks, which I will answer. Do they have similar content? I would say that Libby, sometimes they have the same content, but I would say that Libby has more recent content because we can buy ebooks through Libby. People can recommend ebooks through the Overdrive website, and we look at those lists, especially during this pandemic. We've looked at those lists every week, and we look at reports. If we find that a book someone has recommended in Libby is available in Hoopla, we will email you the link to the Hoopla book. But what I would say about Hoopla's content is the audiobooks are much, there's a much larger collection of audiobooks in Hoopla, and there's especially for nonfiction, and there's a much deeper collection of fiction books. So we may have the most recent Michael Connelly, but we may not have all of the older Michael Connelly in ebooks or digital audiobooks. So a little off topic, but that's a very good question. The difference is Libby, we can buy books. Hoopla, we only get what they give us. So we can't select items for these collections, whereas Libby, we can actually purchase materials when they're available. How did I get to categories? Very good question. So I hope that answered your question. When I hit browse and then movies, there's a choice for categories here. So the recommended movies, featured movies, popular movies, and then categories. So if I wanted, you know, the movies in Kanopy are too depressing, I want comedy, you can hit comedy. And then within here, they have other images or kind of more finite things. So if I wanted a rags to riches story, I guess there aren't that many of those. Let's see. Or stand-up comedy. You can refine your searches in that way. Let's see, any other questions? Can you listen to audiobooks on your phone? Yes, you can listen to audiobooks on your phone. There's an app. So just like Kanopy, there is an app for iPhone, Android phone, which you can download to your device, and then you log in with your email, username, and password, which you've created, and then connected your library card to, and then you can, again, you can get 10 borrows per month. That's across all the different genres. And then some people, less people commuting now, but if you're a commuter or you're going on a long trip, you can connect that to your Bluetooth in your car and listen to an audiobook. So I went on a trip last summer. We had Hoopla. We downloaded the book and we listened to it on a 6-7 hour road trip. We listened to the book. Let's see. Anything else in Q&A? Okay. Is the 10 per month 10 for each of the two services? Yes. Yes, it is. So you get 10 for Hoopla, 10 for Kanopy. So that will be 20. So when we search on the RCLS for a movie, will the search results indicate if it is one of these streaming services? Or do we need to search in the services separately? Currently, RCLS does not have the Hoopla movies in there. It does have Kanopy, but I still would recommend you search in Kanopy itself for the films, because I think there's been some communication issues between the catalog and Kanopy. And that because in discussions about adding Hoopla, the library system has said, well, the way they did Kanopy was not so good, because every time Kanopy, a movie expired on Kanopy, they would have to manually extract it. So the bottom line is no on Hoopla, yes on Kanopy, but I still recommend going directly to the sites to search. And Hoopla is supposedly coming soon, but I will believe it when I see it. You show sign-on page. None of the categories on either service seem to be organized in any recognizable way. Is there any known structure to the way they are organized? You show sign-on page again to be organized. Sign-on. Oh, sign-on page again. Okay. As far as the categories, again, this is not something we control. It looks like the categories here are simply alphabetical. As far as Kanopy, the way the collections are, again, that is not something we control. I would, if I just go back to Kanopy on this, I will show sign in again for Donna, didn't forget about you. But if you browse, if you hit this browse function here, it's kind of a hierarchical version of the categories. So alphabetical, and then within each broad area, they have different sections. Now that does not necessarily correspond with these collections. These are collections that they have created, trending, etc. And, you know, I know it's a lot of content. It's 30,000 films, so there's more films on here than there are on Netflix. So it's a difficult thing for them to organize. Again, again, we don't have any control over it. But you can search up here by keyword or actor as well. So I know it's tough. I downloaded this from my wife's aunt, and it seems like she spent maybe a half hour just looking through all the content. So it's hard to do that, we know. If everyone in the family has their own library card, can we each set up our own account and have our own limit of 10 for Hoopla and 10 for Kanopy? Yes, you can. The only thing I would say with that is if you are logged, you would have to log out of a device and then log back in to the device. There's no way to create one account. Say you have, I have 5 people in my family. I can't add all 5 cards into kind of a family account. I would have to log out of my account and then log in to their account to continue the 10. So yes, you can take advantage of having multiple people in your family. Everybody gets 10 for each, but you have to either have multiple devices or log in and out of those specific accounts. Let's see if there's anything in Q&A. I think we got these. And again, I have my, I'll put my email here for any follow-up afterwards. Let's see if there's something else I wanted to cover on. Oh, the login screen. Didn't forget you, Donna. So let's just go back to the beginning. E-library, e-books, audiobooks, and streaming media, and then Hoopla or Kanopy. If you don't have a card, you hit Get Started, type in your email twice, your password twice, and then on the next screen, you choose your library, New City Library. And by the way, if you're not a New City Library card holder, I believe almost every library in Rockland County has Hoopla. So if you have a card in a Rockland County library, you should be able to use this. So you choose your library on the next screen, and then hit Next and enter your library card and PIN number. So that's how you sign up. If you're a little confused about that, I should also point out that we have a YouTube page now, and I did videos on our YouTube channel. So that's just New City Library and then this green link for the YouTube channel. And if you look under our playlists here, one of the playlists, I think, maybe I have to hit playlists up here at the top, is electronic resources. So this playlist, I'm going to pause, has a video about, with an introduction to Hoopla and an introduction to Kanopy. And those videos walk you through step by step about creating an account. So if you're stuck on creating an account, you can go there. Again, you have my email as well. What's a PIN number? Don't need one for the library. Is it something we create for the services? Your PIN number is generally the last 4 digits of your phone number, unless you changed it. And if you go to log in and you get locked out, you can call me or email me, Terry, and I will make sure that we get you your correct PIN number. Let's see if there are any other questions in the Q&A maybe. Doesn't look like it. And let me look at my list of what I wanted to cover. Again, post questions in the chat. Oh, I just wanted to cover in Hoopla, because we talked about smart TV for Kanopy, but we didn't talk about that for Hoopla. And I do have that set up, and there is help. In Hoopla, again, it's at the very bottom, this little help right at the bottom of the screen in Hoopla. And there's information about how to do it with your Roku, what devices are supported, using it on your TV, with all these different options, troubleshooting, Android, Alexa. So if you have Alexa, I think you can use Alexa. You know, if you downloaded an audiobook, you could, with Hoopla, you could say, Alexa, ask Hoopla to play an audiobook, and it would do that for you. I don't have that, so I'm not that familiar with it. But it looks like this has information about how to do that. So if you want to do that, you have those options. I think that's pretty much all I wanted to cover with these. We're happy to be able to offer these services and certainly take advantage of them to their full extent. If you have questions, I've posted my email there, bjennings@newcitylibrary.org. I'm back in the office 5 days a week. We're back to regular hours for curbside. We don't have an announcement on when people are allowed to come back in, but I would be looking for that soon on our website and social media. And in the meantime, take full advantage of these electronic resources. We're still going to be offering them, and we're happy to do so. And we miss everybody, but we're glad that you can interact with us in these other ways. So thank you, everybody, for coming and for checking out the library. And have a great day.